Alright, look, can I level with you guys? There's no point, okay? There's no sense in complaining, whining, crying, or otherwise speaking against it. Social game is a genre now, and it's not going anywhere. Contrary to popular belief, games like this can be very fun, very polished, and very well made. They just unfortunately happen to be the exception at the moment, not the rule. Then along comes a company like Namco, who decides to take one of their most popular franchises and release the entirety of the engine, assets, and gameplay for free as a social game. With all that clout and experience behind them, surely a legitimate developer like Namco can help set a new standard for the genre, right? 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 As I just stated, Soul Calibur Lost Swords is a free-to-play social take on a famed fighting game franchise, not unlike Tekken Revolution, which also came out not too long ago. You can choose from one of 3 characters to start, but more are being given out through events as time goes on. As of the writing of this review, the first 2 up for grabs are Taki and Ivy, with Hilde, Nightmare, Pyrrha, and Astaroth confirmed to be coming down the road. Once you've selected your fighter, you can start playing through the game's paper-thin story mode, which is basically just a set of text boxes loosely trying to tie together all the different fight scenarios. I really don't mind the absence of a well-done and compelling narrative in a fighting game, but with so many other franchises out there stepping up and delivering on this front, it kind of feels like a missed opportunity. Well, at least the gameplay is solid, you can be sure of that. Soul Calibur made a name for itself by being a solid and engaging 3D fighter, with a heavy emphasis on your character's weapon, and that's no different here. Make no mistake, this is Soul Calibur, 100%, or maybe closer to 75. If you're a veteran of the franchise, watch this clip right here, and tell me if you notice anything unusual. Did you catch it? Yeah, I knocked that guy flying right towards that edge, and he didn't go over. Ringouts are no longer a thing in this game, and honestly, I'm not sure if that's good. Like I said when I reviewed Injustice, I am not a die-hard fan of fighting games, but even I realize that this drastically changes the way you have to approach Soul Calibur. The tension that came from backing an opponent into a corner, and the fact that the match could be over at any second with one failed block because of that corner, is now gone, with the entire focus now being on exchanging blows. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if this one change is enough to put you off the game, or at least make you less excited for it. So, as a relative casual observer to the genre, I'm leaving that call up to you. However, it's that exchange of blows that had me excited for Lost Swords in the first place. Remember, this is a fighting game. Unlike most social RPGs where victory is purely based on variables, this is a much more skill-based experience. If you do not figure out how to use your character, if you do not make use of your block button, and if you do not figure out when it's advantageous to use a vertical attack as opposed to a horizontal one, you're not going to last very long. It's entirely possible to beat a good portion of the story quest without even using the armor you're provided with if you're good enough. That's right, there's an element of character customization in this game. As you play through the quest, you slowly build up an arsenal of swords, shields, axes, and all kinds of fashionable hats. They aren't just for show either. They all boost your maximum health and can even be given secondary effects like extra healing after winning a match, more vertical attack power, etc. The important one, though, is your weapon, and not just in terms of attack power. See those colored orbs? All characters in Lost Swords are assigned an elemental affinity, and by using a weapon that counters that affinity, you'll do extra damage. But it goes beyond that. This game also introduces a concept called Soul Crush, wherein your opponent goes into a sort of rage state after you deal enough damage to them. They'll also get an extra life bar separate from their normal one, but if you manage to deplete this bar before they naturally leave Soul Crush mode, you'll break their armor and get extra treasure at the end of the match, so it pays to both go in prepared and to play skillfully. There is a limit to how much stuff you can carry, but even when you have to get rid of things, your obsolete equipment can still have a purpose. Like in most social games, you can take your useless stuff and fuse its essence into your not-so-useless stuff to make it a little more actually useful. And if you take advantage of awakenings, which are triggered whenever you fuse identical items together, you'll find those numbers are going to climb very quickly. However, now we're long overdue for the part where I say this all sounds good, but, so let's stop dancing around it and talk about where the hiccups in the formula are. I say this is mostly skill-based, but that only goes so far. If you don't keep on top of your equipment, you're going to start noticing the difference in how much damage you're doing comparatively. And unless you have Evo-level skills at Soul Calibur, this is going to be a problem for you. The solution seems obvious, right? Just get more equipment. But to do that, you need to be able to soul crush to maximize your numbers, a process that, once again, is made a lot more difficult by not having the right gear. I cannot stress this enough. If you do nothing else, having the elemental advantage in this game is huge. I went to one of the event stages fairly early on, but forgot to check this one detail. I subsequently got my ass kicked by the first opponent. I then came back with a fire weapon 2 quests later and soul crushed every single one of them. The difference is staggering. Naturally, though, you're not going to have weapons of every element for your character right off the bat, and because this is preventing you from soul-crushing opponents on your current level, you'll be forced to go backwards and grind until you happen to get the one element you need, which I could also tolerate if it weren't for the fact that you can only fight so many fights in a certain time period. And now I'm just rambling off the inherent problems with every social game in existence. Don't misunderstand me. Social games do have a place in the world, and all things considered, they fit that place very, very well. Put simply, there's something you do in the meantime. That is, while you're on your break, or you're waiting in line, or your painstakingly written and edited video review is rendering, and you've got a few minutes to kill. And during those minutes, what do you just happen to have on you? Your smartphone. And it just so happens there are plenty of games for this little device that A, don't take very long to get into, B, can be downloaded at absolutely no charge to you, and C, allow you to do very, very little and still feel like you accomplished something. In that sense, making an experience that doesn't last more than a couple minutes at a time actually isn't a very bad thing, because realistically, that's how long it's going to take you to get back to doing more important things. This is why the concept of Lost Swords doesn't quite work. They put it on a console I can't take with me. What excuse do I have to play this if I'm at home where I always have more work that needs to be done? Even if I don't, I have much deeper and engaging experiences all around me. The game has a bit of an identity crisis in that sense. It's a really great home console experience when I'm allowed to play it. It's got interesting RPG and customization mechanics built into literal brand new elements of the combat that I can't take advantage of. It has satisfying and rewarding micro-missions perfect for playing in short bursts that take 5 minutes just to get into because of the atrocious load times. Damn it, Lost Swords, I want to like you, but you won't let me. I can't even find a way to support this game properly. I'm not spending real money on a treasure chest I don't even know the contents of. Forget that. So what does that leave? AP potions? Oh, so you're charging me to play the game uninterrupted, something I could already get just by popping Soul Calibur 2 into my GameCube? Yeah, at the risk of sounding like a condescending douchebag, keep dreaming. Not even L-Sword could convince me to do that. In short, this is a case of a franchise trying to be something it's not, but instead of making it work by innovating and working around its potential hang-ups, it sticks to the status quo and ends up missing the point completely. Because of this, it fails on both fronts, where it comes from and where it is now. It's not a very good social game, and while it is a good console game, because of the social elements, it's one I can hardly call a console-level experience. I guess you can't argue with free, but that's just it. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I wish this game had cost me something. Maybe that way, I wouldn't have been so disappointed with the product it would have been.